What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be working on the Spyder again. One thing I want to touch on really quick is that in the most recent video, or the one before this, I mentioned that this video is actually supposed to be cleaning up the interior a little bit and removing the soft top, just because this thing is in pretty rough shape. Let me undo it here. It's torn, but also the back glass is busted out. So this is something that I will be addressing in a future video. But right now my concern is just making sure I can get the lift on this engine all working correctly, because the rest of that doesn't matter if I can't do this. Where I want to start with is the lift bolts. First thing I did was remove the coil packs, and that associated wiring came off pretty easy. It was just a bunch of 10mm bolts. Then I had to disconnect the vents. It's really close to the firewall, so you know, having a small wrench or like universal joint really helps a lot here. And after that, it was just a simple matter of removing all of the bolts that are holding the valve cover in place. Right here are the two lift bolts, and from what I read online, the intake lift bolt has a tendency to snap, and if that snaps, oh boy, that's going to be a lot more work for me. Unfortunately, after removing the intake lift bolt, I discovered that it was broken, which really sucks. The exhaust lift bolt though was in great shape and came out with no issues. It's been a few days since that last clip, and we're hopefully going to be removing the broken lift bolt today. There's a service bulletin that actually details how to do this repair, so I've decided that that's the route that I'm going to take. The process itself seems pretty easy. First, one of the things it says is to make sure that the engine's at top dead center, which I've already done here. You probably can't see it too well down there, but the pulleys are already aligned with top dead center, and then the cams are as well. Just to make sure, or make it easier to put everything together once I get there, I also put some paint here that's dried, so that gives me another reference point as well. Now that everything's realigned in terms of timing, it seems like it's a pretty straightforward process. You just remove the intake cam, remove the timing chain tensioner, and then I'll remove the housing for the oil control valve. That's going to allow me to hit the rocker out. I'm going to start off with removing the oil control valve housing. Pretty straightforward thing to do. There's a couple connectors you have to disconnect. There's 2 grounds that you have to undo. Then at that point you can remove the 5 bolts that hold it in place. I believe there's 3 at the top and then 2 at the bottom. The timing chain tensioner is just held on by 2 10mm bolts. The O-ring can seal on there pretty well, so I took a little flathead to kind of help pry it out a little bit. The issue I ran into is that I did not remove the tensioner for the accessory belt. The service bulletin mentions removing it, but I thought I could get away with it, and I was wrong. So here I am removing the accessory belt so I could remove the tensioner for that. This is a tight space to work in, so I put the camera down for just a second. This right here is a 19mm, I guess, bolt socket, whatever you want to call it. But you put a 19mm socket on here, you push it forward or clockwise, and then from there, that allowed me to loosen up the belt. I used like a 12-point initially, but it was rounding off, so I switched over to a 6-point, and that worked better. Once the belt was off, I loosened this bolt right here and this guy right here. And by pushing this out, so loosening it up, pushing it out, that gives me the space I need to pull the tensioner out. The next step is removing the intake camshaft, and what I did here was I broke all the bolts loose. Then from there, I just one by one removed the cam caps. It's really important these go back in the same place that you removed them, so definitely keep track of where they came from. It took a little bit of finagling, but I removed the intake camshaft itself. The last thing to do was actually tap out the rocker shaft for the intake, and this is where I ran into some issue. The rocker shaft refused to move at all, and I was using my hammer here to try to get it out. And what I want to be clear about is the fact that it just wouldn't move at all, because one of the things I read online is that people reported that like the shaft would move like, I don't know, an inch or something like that, then it would get stuck because of the lift bolt. This just refused to move, period. I even pulled out the compressed air and used the air hammer that I have, and that didn't help. I actually decided to stop because I was mushrooming the end of the intake shaft. It was getting deformed. I don't really have an exact answer as to why it won't come out yet. I mean, I kind of have a couple theories. Like maybe one of them is that the way that the lift bolt broke, a piece of it got stuck in between like the shaft and the head itself, and it's, you know, causing it to not want to come out. But with the amount of force I used between the hammer and the pneumatic tool there, you think it would have come out. I did find a couple people online who reported a similar issue, and what ended up happening in their case was that the shaft seal or the rocker shaft itself was actually bad, like it was slightly bent. I don't know if that's the case in this situation. I mean, this is a junkyard engine. I don't have any history of it or anything like that. But what I can say is based off of what I've seen, it's clear that it was, you know, neglected and not taken care of. So my plan at this point is just to kind of let the car sit, and I'll revisit this in a couple months. That's actually why I went ahead and put the valve cover back on. Probably sometime in, I don't know, November, December, I'll end up just pulling the engine and transmission out together. And the plan will be to freshen everything up. Obviously, I'm also going to fix the issue here. I'm thinking like worst case scenario, I may need to buy a new head. Best case scenario, I'm able to get the shaft out and I can just replace it with a new one. But that's still something I want to remove the engine out of the car for, because I don't see a way, just like when you consider how long it is, that I'm going to be able to get it out, because I mean, there's just not enough space there. Also address some other things, like the fact that this leaks actually quite a bit of oil. So if I let it just sit here in the same spot, it stains the ground with oil, which I don't really like. And my plan is to track the car, so I need to make sure that fluid leaks are addressed, because that's a big no-no on the racetrack. One thing I want to know is that it's super easy to get carried away on a build like this. So I have a very clear goal in mind in terms of the power plant. I want to keep it like OEM or stock, just for the reliability of it. And essentially that means that all the work I'll be doing, it's either going to be essentially maintenance, or if there's certain things that I should do just to kind of keep this engine alive on the track for longer, I'll do that as well. But there's not going to be like a built head or anything like that. It's going to keep it simple. That way I can focus on maximizing seat time with this car. I'll be frank, this isn't really how I thought this video was going to go, but that's just how things go sometimes. Stick around, because we'll be revisiting this car in a few months, and then the other MR2 I have, which has a 2GR in it, should actually be getting the transmission pretty soon, since I got most of the parts sent over there. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.